West Ham host Watford on Saturday. Watford are coming off a good victory against Cardiff City. 3 wonderful worldy goals. One in particular from a player we know really well, Dominguez Quina. West Ham, of course, are on one of their best runs in the last, 5 to 10 years. And we are now looking to potentially equal a record to go for our 5th win in a row. Fingers crossed. Since the first time since 2005 season, 2006 season. Still, Watford are coming to the Olympic Stadium, and I always refer back to that game. I probably shouldn't, but the first ever demise of West Ham when we moved to that stadium when Dimitri Payet was there, and we went 2-0 up and then lost the game 4-2.
And then we absolutely, fucked it up.
Watford, what are your thoughts on Watford?
A lot of people have been saying that it's going to be physically tough. They're they're a team of bruisers. You know, people like Deeney up front are going to probably give Diop and Balbuena quite a hard time. Interesting, about Deeney wins quite a lot of aerial balls.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of hoping that Diop and Balbuena will sort him out there. But I think it's going to be tough. Physically, it's going to be tough. They don't mind the challenge. They've got quite a lot of yellow cards against them, so they're gonna knock us around on Saturday. I think they're going to make it really difficult for us. Not sure. It's like a few other teams that we played recently. Not sure if there's going to be an awful lot of football played, but there's going to be an awful lot of hard tackling going in.
Yeah, it's like a heavyweight boxing match, although the two teams aren't in the top division. Maybe if you look at the stats of the Premier League, both teams have played 17. We have both won 7, drew 3, lost 7, but only 2 goals separate us for goal difference. West Ham have got the better goal difference by 2 goals. West Ham obviously are on an upturn in their season, and Watford seem to, they won over half of their games in the first 4 games of the season, and have struggled since then. They've changed managers a few times. You've mentioned Troy Deeney. Add to that Andre Gray, and then you've got the little impact player Dominguez Quina, who scored an absolute beautiful goal for Watford against Watford last week. Is that a player we should worry about? West Ham have got a history of selling these players. They come up against West Ham, they do well. Player we were linked with was Andre Gray as well. He's a solid, strong centre forward, and he does seem to come off the bench for them and do all right.
Possibly, but I think that's the only thing he's really done for them this season, isn't it? I think Quina, we know he's got quality, and there was a lot of talk about whether we should have kept him on or not. But then when you look at some of the youngsters that are coming through at the moment, like Diangana, kind of forget about Quina pretty quickly.
Yeah.
He might be able to pull another worldie out of the bag, but you'd have to be an exceptional talent to do that 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
I'd be more worried about, say, Doucoure, who does a lot of assists. I'd be more worried about Pereira, and I'd be more worried about Deeney, who always, like I said a minute ago, gives us a bit of a bruising. So, Quina can be a danger player, but he's not really done anything else apart from that worldie, mate, to be honest.
2 players you mentioned there was Doucoure. He's got 5 assists for Watford this year. Pereira's got 5 goals for Watford this year. A struggling Watford side, apart from the first 4 games of the season, they have kind of struggled. They've not been maybe at the top of their game. Do you think the change of management has had a massive effect on them?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, in their last 4 or 5 games, they conceded a lot of goals. They conceded something like 11 goals in the last 5 games.
Yeah.
Maybe that's an impact of changing manager, changing formations, tactics, and all that sort of stuff. So I think changing manager doesn't help.
Yeah.
During the season, and I think maybe they're still finding their feet. But as much as they can score, they concede as well. They're a little bit like us in that way. I think given our recent performances, I think we're going to probably outplay them on Saturday. I think that's what I'm looking to. I don't think they'll be able to match us for skill. It's just a question of whether we're going to be going into the hard challenge or not.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the results, they do seem quite sporadic. Apart from, like I said, at the start of the season, when they won their first 4, then they went on a bit of not a great run. Got beat Manchester United, drew with Fulham, got beat by Arsenal, smashed by Bournemouth, and then suddenly they turn up and they were the kind of first team to turn over Wolves properly. Then they beat Huddersfield. They got 2 back-to-back wins there. Then they step up against Newcastle and got beat, and then the next run of games hasn't been fantastic for them. So that's the thing that worries me about them. A team like Watford is their inconsistency in performing. Like they haven't performed fantastic. They won a game, I suppose, last week. Is that something that West Ham should fear? Because are we fearful of teams coming in front of us, or are we using that confidence to take us through each game?
I don't think we are fearful anymore, are we? I think that early season start for bad start for us early season, when we lost 4 games, seems like a distant memory now. Yeah. And look at the way we played in the last few games. We've been free flowing, we've been scoring goals for fun, and I think I don't think we have anything to fear against a team like Watford. I think we're going to score goals against them on Saturday. It's just a matter of making sure that we try and limit any goal, try and keep a clean sheet.
Yeah.
So I don't think we need to fear them. We're at home. We're confident. We've been playing really well. I mean, even last week when we didn't really have our best game against Fulham, we still put 2 past them and we kept a clean sheet. The irony, mate. Yeah. We didn't play that well last week.
No.
And we kept a clean sheet. So I don't think we've got anything to fear from them.
And still, is that something then? It's tough sometimes when you do these videos and you don't sound like you're repeating yourself, but you can't help it. West Ham of last year against the Fulham of this year, we didn't perform that well. Would we have conceded goals? Would we have been beaten from that performance?
I said at the game that Fulham are us last season. Where we should have played with confidence and we were sort of faltering. Everyone predicted. We all predicted that Fulham would probably finish in the top half of the league with the signings that they've had. But Fulham are doing what we were doing last season. Fulham are just losing game after game after game. Their confidence seems to be sapped. They've had a manager, replacement manager, etc. And it's going to take quite a bit for them to sort of get out the hole that they're in. And that's where we were at last season. We're not there this season. The confidence in our team, in our squad at the moment, it seems to be exemplary.
And is that the Pellegrini effect still?
Got to be, mate. I mean, what else can it be? He's always said, he came in saying, he's got a winning mentality. He came in saying that he's attack minded, etc. The last few games have borne that out to be true. We're scoring goals. I mean, I can't remember. It's a long time ago that we've sort of gone game after game after game where we've scored 2-3 goals, 2 goals, 3 goals. It's the confidence is there, and it's got to be from the way he's playing. Yeah. He has changed tactics, and I'm sure you're going to rub it in my face, telling me 4-4-2 works. But he has changed tactics, and that helps as well. But now maybe, we were saying earlier in the season, maybe he just hasn't found the right formation or the right players to play in formations. Everything is now fitted in. Everybody knows their job. Look at the way we're playing in midfield. It's tight in midfield. Players are dropping in order to help midfield. Midfield are dropping back in order to help defence. We're playing as a team now. Yeah. Whereas 5-6 weeks ago we weren't doing that.
We've said it all the time. I mean, you look at his history with, and one particular team is Malaga, and you look at, I think their first 14 games when he was in charge were not great at all. But after that, he kind of hit this momentum. It's like he sat back and assessed every situation. One thing I like about Pellegrini, and I'll put this point to you because you were particularly vocal about this one player, was Robert Snodgrass. But the reason why I'm saying it is, has he made you change your perception of these sort of players, and has he done that with a lot of the team, the squad?
He's made me change my perception on Snodgrass, and he's beginning to change my perception of Antonio. But I want to see Antonio do what Snodgrass has done.
Yeah.
So I don't want it to be a 2-game one. You know, last 2 games he's played well. I want that to be maintained. I want to see Antonio go on a 6, 7, 8-game run where even if he doesn't score every game, he's putting everything into playing. And if he does that, then absolutely. Because
Antonio seems to be a player favourite. The players all seem to rally around Antonio. The players all seem to have a lot of confidence in his ability. That for a while the fans lost or have still lost and haven't regained it. But you know, the players talk Antonio up to be like very influential in that squad. Like needed player.
Yeah, they do, and they see more than we do as fans, don't they? You know, they see what happens in the training ground, they see what happens off the pitch, etc. We're not privy to that. We don't get to see all that, so we can only see it as fans, where we see snapshots, where we see Antonio playing on the pitch. We don't see what goes on behind the scenes. So it's understandable that the players around him have probably got a very different perception of him than we have as fans. But hats off to him. He's played well the last 2 games, and I just want to see him. Just like Snodgrass has proved me wrong, I'm glad to say, I want to see Antonio do so, because if players like that start really, you know, continue to play better and better, think of the depth, you know, the strength in depth we then have, you know, because at the beginning of the season, I was vocal. I was saying, well, we're not going to win anything. We've still got Snodgrass, still got Antonio.
I was the same as you, though.
Still got other players. Yeah.
But now, a lot of fans at the same.
Yeah, and now I'm thinking, okay, we've got injuries, but we've got players like Snodgrass, Diangana, Antonio, etc. that can come in and fill in and play a role. Dare I even say this, because I didn't moan about him. Even Masuaku had a half decent game against Fulham on Saturday, but I'll temper that by saying he hasn't been tested the last few games. Yeah. You know, but he's beginning to try not to sort of cut too far in you know, to stand next to a central defender.
But it seems but that's probably where the Pellegrini effect is stepping in. It's one of those cliche comments we keep saying, but it's so true when you look at it. I mean, we have to come back to Snodgrass, because I was exactly on the same wavelength as you. When we signed Snodgrass, I was, you know, underwhelmed, but I was open. He never really got the greatest of chances, and I always thought he was the top dog at Hull. But when he came to West Ham, he wasn't the top dog. So Hull built their squad in and around a Snodgrass type player. Hence the reason he was doing really well. And it's like Pellegrini's really brought him in and just shown him how to play to that level, play consistency at that level. He's chipped in his last 4 games, 2 goals, 3 assists. And he's an integral part of the team. And you know, when he gets a hold of that ball, still, he's very proactive. He moves forward. He's finding big long balls. His balls into the box are very effective. And one wing, you've got a confident player of Felipe Anderson, he's another player on fire just now. You want him to have the ball, but on the other side of it, you want Snodgrass to get a hold of the ball and do it.
And the irony of it is Snodgrass has only really got his chance properly because Yarmolenko's injured.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and but you know, that's, you know, what I said a minute ago. It's good to have players that can step in and step in without there being a negative impact on the team. You know, so Snodgrass has done it. Diangana did it for a while. You know, so it's marvellous. And Snodgrass, I'll take my hat off to him. He's become an integral part of that team. You know, now when Pellegrini's picking a team, he'll be one of the first players on the team sheet, without a doubt.
I suppose one of the biggest issues or biggest problems he may face for this Saturday will be who starts up top. I think it's probably going to be a no-brainer as long as he's fit. Is Chicharito? It's just going to who will partner him, and is it going to be Antonio?
It's got to be Antonio again, mate. It's got to be.
Yep.
I know there are rumours knocking around today that some Turkish team are looking to buy Carroll, and I don't believe that for a second. But I don't think Carroll will start. In fact, whilst we continue in the vein that we're continuing, I don't think Carroll will start another Premier League game. You know, because if Hernandez continues to do what he does. If Antonio continues to do what he does, and when Arnautovic is back, I can't see why you would start Carroll.
Yeah, and I agree with you still, and I think probably most fans probably do, and it's not a bad position to be in. I know we pay him a lot of wages, but having that impact coming off the bench, whether you are a fan of him, his style of play or not, he is always going to cause havoc. He's always going to cause. He could be in one leg, he could be in crutches, and the defence would look at him and go, "Oh shit, there's Andy Carroll." He's just
he usually is, mate.
Yeah, I know, but when he's actually playing, people just panic when he's on the park. So
he didn't do much against Fulham, though, mate.
No, he didn't. That was probably, but the game before, I think he got a bit of a
He put himself about.
He put himself about, and he didn't really touch the ball much, but he'd done enough to confuse the defence. So having that come off the bench, if West Ham are struggling or with 20 minutes to go, to give him some game time, it's the least he can do. Like, owes West Ham fans something if he does go in the summer, whatever. But I think it will be Antonio and Chicharito, and good on good on Antonio. Like, I've been giving him. To tell you what, still, it was hard to not choose him as one of your favourite players a couple of years ago, because his performances week in and week out were top level. He was scoring every single week. He was a confident player, and his confidence just lost. He became big Arnold Schwarzenegger bodybuilder.
I've been advocating all season and pre-season to sell him. I've been saying if we get 15 million for him, take the money, and invest it in a more skillful player. And I am still of the opinion that if we do continue to progress as a team, Antonio will eventually be sidelined, but might not be this season. That might.
And still, the funny thing is, there's a part of me that agrees with you, but there's also a little bit of an inclination to think, like, was he offered out? Did a club come in for him? Because the strong rumours saying that in the summer there was interest in him, and West Ham didn't let him go. And maybe it was Pellegrini saying, "I want to see what the squad can offer." He keeps sneaking his way back into this side. It's like he can't physically help himself. But I do agree with you. I think longevity, future sustainability for West Ham, 3 years down the line, will Antonio still be within the squad? I'm not too sure. He may be doing him a bit of an injustice, but I think for West Ham to progress further. And listen, one other point before we get on to predictions is this West Ham, this confident West Ham, is missing Lanzini, Yarmolenko, Arnautovic.
I know.
Just to name a few.
Oggy.
Winston Reid.
Who? Creswell. You're absolutely. That's why it's such a pleasure to see the likes of Antonio coming in, Snodgrass coming in, and taking the mantle, and not having a strop when they're not picked, and playing for the team.
Yeah.
That's why. And given that we've got so many players out injured, it's wonderful. It's great, because can you imagine when they're all back, the competition for places when they're all back. It'd be fantastic.
Listen, sorry, still to interrupt. If you agree with our points on what we're saying just now, make sure you get in the comments below. Do you think Antonio, has he been playing well the last couple of games? Do you think he deserves to start this weekend? What are your thoughts on Snodgrass? Do you think he's been performing really well? Of course he has been, but give us your real opinion. Do you want to see him continue there, especially when Yarmolenko and Lanzini come back in? That's going to be a great problem for the manager to have.
Can't wait for Lanzini to come back.
I don't think anyone can.
We're all saying it. I know this is maybe for a future show, but everyone's saying, imagine the way how he'll play alongside Anderson and other players. Jesus Christ, mate. We'll be salivating, won't we?
Absolutely.
We really will.
We're going to do our predictions. So before we do them, make sure you get the comments in below and let us know what your predictions are. We've roughly gone through the team. We don't really need to talk too much about it. Things are good just now. Things are rosy. Let's just hope they continue. Listen, at the end of the day, we just want a West Ham to turn up and try and work hard for that victory, because they have. Do you know what? Still, we didn't play fantastic against Fulham, but there was still hard work there to get that victory through at the end of the day. And that's all we ask for as West Ham fans. So make sure you get the comments in below and let us know. Still, predictions?
Well, I'm sort of looking at the last couple of years of our games against them, and they're pretty even, aren't they?
Yeah.
Won a couple, lost a couple, drawn a couple. But I think we're going to edge it on Saturday. I think it's going to be. We're at home. We're confident. We're playing well. We're scoring for fun. I think we're going to win, and we're going to win 3-1.
Okay, good. I'll take that. Take that right now. I'm kind of on a similar path as you, although I think we'll concede a couple more. So, well, not a couple more, but I'm going to go for a 3-2 victory. I just think, They can create chances. They've got some decent players there. Like you said, it's a strong battle, but I've got confidence in Balbuena and Diop because they just look like two monsters at the back. And I think, do you know what? See the defenders we've got just now. I think they'll relish Troy Deeney. And
I agree.
Yeah,
I think definitely Balbuena will.
But also Diop, like you know, I watch them two defending, and it's a joy to watch because they're solid, and they're not dirty. They're not dirty at all, and there's nothing better when you get centre half. It doesn't need to be that.
And let's not forget, Zabaleta likes a challenge or two.
Yeah,
He'll as well.
Yeah,
he won't be intimidated. And wasn't it a great move? You know, that a couple of weeks back when Zabaleta was rested for Antonio, because Zabaleta plays one game a week and he's fresh.
Absolutely.
You know.
Yep. I wasn't too sure when that happened, and I think I said that in the preview. I was worried. I think I was at that stage where I was worried that we would continue with we had to just get points on the board. But listen, in Pellegrini we trust. If you agree with Stel on the points on players we've talked about and also his predictions, just let us know. Hit the thumbs up below. Stel, what were you going to say there?
I was going to say, and for the first time this season, we were singing for Pellegrini.
Yeah.
Pellegrini's Claret and Blue Army.
Yep, absolutely. Long may that continue. It's the first time in a long time.
It is.
We will have a few other shows coming up to the Christmas period, so make sure you tune in. I think we're potentially going to try and go live on Sunday for a big Christmas special, so make sure you come in. It'll be an entertaining one. We'll have a lot of guests on there, so we'll just get a chit chat on the go. Anything West Ham, we'll go with that, so make sure you tune in. Just make sure you subscribe to the channel and give us some feedback on what your thoughts are on the channel. Anyway, any last points still? If not, we'll just head off.
No, mates. No, looking forward to Saturday.
Excellent. He's been Stel. I've been Anton. We are Irons United. Come on, you Irons.